And welcome to Focus on Liberia. Welcome. Welcome to the broadcast. I'm Ansony Sieh hosting. This is the hour of politics, and we are here to bring you interesting information taking place in the homeland to put it right. And welcome. Help us hit that share button. Let's get started. Today we should have had Carl Richman, who is a representative aspirant for District Number 10, Monserrado County, but she could not make the interview today. And so I'm saying this because we have advertised it, and I know most of you were expecting that. But that will be happening tomorrow instead. And so we talked to give to you an open mark. There are three, corruption allegations that are in the news, and I want to bring those to your attention and open the phone lines for you to be able to speak on these corruption allegations. Three Gion officials of the CDC government is alleged have been caught into the act of corruption. Their hands were caught into the cookies jar. This news about corruption can't just stop. It can't just stop, and it can't just stop. But we don't have to take it because we know the damage that this kind of behavior does to our country, how it undermines development, and how the ordinary people are paying the price because money taken away by these officials of government, those who are fortunate enough to be able to serve their country, those ones that are at the economic bottom of the ladder, of the bottom of the economic ladder, so to speak, they won't pay the price. And so we have to be able to talk about these acts of corruption because these acts are very unacceptable, and the phone lines are open. But let me be able to bring it to you so that you can know what are the allegations that we are talking about right here. And so, talking about the acts of corruption being carried on by three Gion officials of the CDC government, we want to bring to your attention that there are three officials of government that have been accused of corruption. Number one, James Emmanuel Porter. Mr. Emmanuel Porter is the Assistant Minister for Logistics at the Ministry of State for Presidential Affairs. Mr. Porter was able to buy a car, Audi Q7, that is the car that he bought. From our understanding, that he did it as a gift to his wife. And he didn't even stop there. He bought a bottle of champagne, as was being reported, and he was able to, shower this car with the champagne that he bought. Now, there is report coming from Morovia that this champagne is a very expensive champagne. But what he did actually was that he bought a car, which is a luxurious car, though used car, but, still a luxurious car. He bought it for his wife as a gift for her birthday. And he was able to pour champagne on top of this car. And this news did not actually sit well with many people because if you are a public official, for you to take champagne and pour that champagne on a vehicle that you acquire for your wife, many people are thinking that this is very insensitive and it should not be coming from a public official because that public official is a representative of the government, and such a behavior in the midst of poverty that is ravishing our people, for him to have exhibited that kind of attitude in public space was very much unfortunate, and that he should not have done that. But that is what he did. And so CDC, that is the ruling government, its youth had a press conference regarding this behavior by these officials of government and talking about Mr. J. Emmanuel Porter, the assistant minister at the Ministry of Presidential Affairs, for logistics, who bought this car and showered it with champagne. The CDC youth saying this is a man who could not afford just yesterday. How could he be able to buy this car and carry on this act by pouring champagne on top of it? The CDC youth had a press conference and they said this behavior is anti-propo. So for me, my question is, we are talking about a junior official here, right? I try to always look at things in a very different way so that people can, get two sides of it. Corruption is something that we should all speak against because we know how it undermines everything about our country. But what I see is this selective advocacy, this selective speaking on what is wrong, by some people in our community. That is, so this is a junior official who carry on this art. This art, from what we are hearing from the use of CDC, this is anti-propo. Is this the first anti-propo behavior by any government official? Is this the first one? Or are they saying to us that they have had enough now? And that is why they are coming on to speak on this. Is this the first one? And many of you agree with me, this is not the first act by any public official, more so talking about senior officials in the government. We have heard about corruption allegations against senior officials of government. Did the CDC you muster the courage to come up and speak against this behavior as being anti-propo? Now, at the early start of this administration, Nathaniel Magee acquired a $250,000 loan, according to him, which turned out to be false anyway. And so that is something he needs to clear, but he can't get his story straight. But to the point, Nathaniel Magee, when the propo government has just taken over, it was reported that he has acquired a home. And the story was that, according to him, he has acquired a loan in that amount of $200,000 or $250,000 from a local bank, and that's why he used to buy the house. Was that not anti-propo? Did the CDC youth come up? Did even senior officials in the government come up to say anything against that? There was barely less than 6 months into the administration when Magee felt the need to grab $250,000 and secure for himself a mansion. And sometime I listened to a gentleman called Eugene Lamin Fagon. When Magee was opening that compound in the midst of poverty, when this government is on record for saying it inherited a broke economy or a broke country, and less than a year in that particular government, the Minister of Presidential Affairs saw it in his wisdom to grab $250,000, about that amount, and he got himself a mansion. Fagon, the guy who is passing around here as the guy who destroys the cartel, he was seen dancing at Magee compound. Did he say anything about this behavior of Magee being anti-propo? Did the CDC youth that is trying to be vocal now, did they speak? Did they say anything about Magee's behavior? No, they did not. So now it's Porter. We can all agree Porter's behavior was very insensitive and very reprehensible. You work for the government. You acquire a car for your wife as a birthday gift and push champagne. If that were popular money, I mean your personal money, maybe somebody will say that's okay. But for Christ's sake, you work for the government. For Christ's sake, you couldn't do that just yesterday. And you do it now because you're in government. Don't you see that people will see through this? So the fight against corruption, the advocacy against corruption, the advocacy for accountability and transparency should not be selective. But that has become the story of our country, Liberia. This guy is for logistics as a minister of presidential affairs. You think Mange will have the guts and the audacity? You think Mange will be in a moral place to say this behavior is unacceptable? Is this guy still on the job? If you look at this public official's conduct, and this is guy, he should still be on the job, Mange can't say anything. He was the one who set the example that you can acquire anything so expensive in such a short time in the midst of poverty, in the midst of employees of government protesting for their pay. We've seen protests from water and sewer to LEC, which is the recent one. We've seen nurses protested. There are people who the government owes today in arrears. And these people, they just don't get it. They have enough for themselves to lavish and waste. And this is a government that is proper. And so the CDC youth telling us that that behavior is anti-proper. I wish they have said that when Mange got that home. I wish they have said that when the president broke down his 9th Street, dilapidated home and turned it into a palace. I wish the CDC youth had the spine and tenacity to come up and speak against this insensitive behavior that was demonstrated by the president. I wish they had done that. And I wish they have come up when a $25 million was squandered in broad daylight with no accountability whatsoever. I wish the CDC you have come up to speak out about this behavior or that behavior being very anti-proper. That is more more than they ever will say in our Liberian parlance. So that junior minister now. So they want to show their muscles. And they think they are advocating for Liberia. And they think they want us to celebrate them. We see through it. Fast forward, another official of government was accused of corruption, this time at the Ministry of Lands, Mines, and Energy. But hey, talking about the Assistant Minister Porter, CDCU went forth to say the action of Emmanuel Porter, who could not afford 250,000 US vehicle years back, will in less than 3 years be displaying and popping champagne over a luxurious Audi Q7 vehicle is completely unacceptable. So they are saying this guy could not even afford 250,000 vehicle yesterday. And today he's buying an Audi Q7, a luxurious car for a wife, and he's popping champagne on top of it. They can't stomach it, and they are calling it anti-proper. Now, coming to Ministry of Land, Mines, and Energy, folks, another official of government has been accused. And all these allegations coming up in about a month's time, folks. Mr. Samuel T.K. Wilson has been accused of corruption at the Ministry of Lands, Mines, and Energy. Now, who is Samuel T. K. Wilson. Mr. Samuel T.K. Wilson, from our understanding, is the director at the Ministry of Land, Mines, and Energy. Mr. Wilson is being accused of building a luxurious 18-bedroom property in the Dupont Road area, folks. That is what he has been accused of. Now, why is this thing raising eyebrows? Mr. Wilson, from our understanding, earns $600 a month. That is what he makes as an employee of the government. And our investigation shows that Mr. Wilson had now worked at this particular position for even 3 years. No, he has not. But somewhere, somehow, Mr. Wilson built a luxurious 18-bedroom guest house in the Dupont Road area. Somebody making $600. So the question is, where did he get the money from? And he, in his capacity as director at the Ministry of Lands, Mines, and Energy, he had access. He had access to government funds. So the logical conclusion people came to, so look, if this man is making 600 and he has not been working here for, say, 2-3 years, how could he have built this kind of luxurious guest house of 18 rooms? Done. Something might have gone wrong somewhere. He may have gotten the money from somewhere, because this is $600 salary cannot build this property when he depends on the $600 to feed his family and do all the things for himself and his family. And so they had to look into it. What happened? Because it could not be proven, it could not be verified. He has been investigated by the Ministry of Justice for such behavior. And our understanding also is that this gentleman had to even shut his Facebook down when the news came out that he's being investigated for the property that he built in the Dupont Road area, which is the 18-bedroom guest house. When the news came out on social media, the man took down his social media page because he didn't want people to go to his social media page to get to know who he actually is. Who is this Samuel T.K. Wilson they've been talking about? He took his Facebook down. Why would you take your Facebook page down when you know you have not done anything wrong? Well, some people might say, well, the man is taking precaution. This is an allegation. Somebody might get overzealous and might get so angry and go and get at this man. So maybe he's doing that to take precaution so that they will not be able to identify him. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. But that is another corruption allegation against a junior official of government. So fast forward, before I can open the lines for you to speak, the port manager of Buchanan, along with the chief statistician of that airport, not airport, but seaport in Buchanan, Mr. Charles God and Mr. Amara Kamara. These two officials right now are facing suspension. They have been suspended, and their suspension has been confirmed by the NPA, the National Port Authority. In fact, there was a release, confirming their suspension, and that suspension right now is in effect. Why? Because about 200,000 United States dollars is being misappropriated by these individuals. This money cannot be traced to be in government coffers. But according to reports, how these guys snatched this huge amount of money. Report has it that they have been sending remittances both outside of Liberia and also in Liberia to accounts that they are associated with. And this money is supposed to be in government account is not there. And actually, this money is supposed to be money. It's actually money that was intended for the Liberian government coming from Achelon Mental. So that is money paid to them or pay and intended for the Liberian government. This is the money because they had control. They were in control, right, of this money. They have taken the money for themselves and they have diverted the money to their own personal accounts. That is what these two junior officials did. That's what they did, which is very much unfortunate. Yet another corruption allegation against Mr. Gold and Mr. Kamara. Mr. Gold having to be the port manager in Buchanan, and Mr. Kamara is the chief or statistician. And so Achelon Mental made the money available as payment for the Liberian government, that is taxes to the Liberian government, for the use or exploitation of iron ore there at the port of Buchanan. And these two individuals allegedly and reportedly snatched this money. And for this reason, they have been suspended and they are on ongoing investigation. And we can only hope that this investigation will come to a logical conclusion. This will not become business as usual. So, folks, corruption is widespread in our government. And these allegations are grave. These allegations are serious. We hope this will not become the usual attitude on the part of the government, where individuals have been accused, investigation get lengthy, and there cannot be any closure or full-scale accountability for this kind of behavior. We should not and never tolerate that kind of behavior. And so to go back to my previous point, CDC, you now have seen the weekly, the junior officials, they can have press conference wearing the CDC youth around. When Mamba Molu went on record and accused the president of traveling outside of the country in the name of the country or Liberia, drinking money and diverting it to his personal use. And Mamba Mono is still their chairman, and they worship him, and they celebrate him, and they stand right there waiting for him to give a speech. This Mamba Molu also was on record for saying that officials of CDC were amassing wealth and acquiring property overnight. And yet he will not have the audacity to call a single name. The CDC Youth League was still around. They said nothing, and they did nothing. So for them to be telling us, because this guy is a junior official, he's not a tour, he's not a mange, he is not the president, and so they can speak. It is selective. It is a bluff. They don't have the spine to speak to issues of corruption that are grave and serious in this government. Their vision is at stake here. They are getting crumbs These guys are getting rich overnight. These guys are amassing wealth. Their leaders are now taking drastic action based on the gravity of the economic crimes these individuals continue to carry on. They have been mute. All they have done all along, just complain among themselves. And now they have seen a weakling. And they want to be the moral voice this time. The man got a car, got a champagne, and you were popping it on top of the car. According to them, the vest, that's anti-propos. But when the audit report from the General Auditing Commission revealed that the map of money as we speak, some individuals, according to the report, were dealt with, but those people were not on any planet on the face of the earth, least before we can talk about any other place. The Youth League was still around. They said nothing. We were being lied to. We see the condominiums. We see the 9th Street building. They said nothing. Oh, that's the king. That's the empire. You dare not speak against the emperor. So just stop this kind of hypocrisy. Stop being selective. You rather keep quiet and not say nothing. So that J. Emmanuel Porter, you able. He's the only one who has acquired, at least for him, he got a car. This is not an attempt to justify this behavior of this junior minister. But we have heard reports and allegations of several thousands of people acquiring property at a very early age. They didn't say anything. And so, if you are listening to me, this is an open mark. It is about time for you to speak. And so let me remind those of you who are just joining us here at the Hour of Politics. I put my country or our country flag here, not because I'm the better guy. I have not been tested. So I can't claim to be the good guy here. I can only tell you I'm not greedy. Greed is killing folks in the government, killing our country, not killing them, but it's killing our people and killing this country. These people came up with propos. Your government is propos, and you're stealing from the poor. People are not taking pay. People are protesting here and there. Achi Pompon today is a victim of government inability to pay its people. This guy's life is distraught. He acted out of frustration and set himself ablaze. Some of you might have seen his recent picture. This guy is not going to have a pleasant life anymore. Have we had a serious government that cares about ordinary people who depend on a single salary for their own survivability? This guy would not have acted the way he did. And guess what? This government would not have the compassion to reach out to him to see if they could help the citizen who acted because his government will not listen to him. They care less. They see politics in it. And this is the part that kills my spirit. We're talking about our country. Few of you have the greatest opportunity to serve and to do right by our people. You are stealing. You are building properties. The folks that depend on a single salary, they are not getting it. They have to protest. They have to cry. And in fact, at LEC, our government was brave to cut 30% of the little mingle salary those people were earning. They have to stand up for themselves before the government could reverse course. Have those people acted like many Liberians would do, said by, what can we do? What can we do? Today, they would not have taken pay. Today, they would not have given back the 30% that was taken from them. How do we treat ourselves like this? Our fellow citizens like this? And so, folks, the phone lines are open. I want you to call. We are talking about corruption in our government. We have one, J. Emmanuel Porter. He's being accused by his own youth wing of engaging into corruption, that his behavior is anti-proper. They don't believe that the money he used to buy the car, he actually earned that money legally, even though they don't have evidence to that. I must point that out. But they said that he could not afford 250,000 car yesterday. How can he buy a Q7, which is a luxurious car, and pour champagne on top of it? The thing he's not using is just earned salary. They are raising accusing finger at him. Another junior official of the government, who is Mr. Samuel T.K. Wilson at the Ministry of Lands, Mines and Energy. We understand he's a director there. He has been able to build 18-bedroom guest house, which, according to report, is a luxurious building. And this junior official of government at the Ministry of Lands, Mines and Energy, who happen to be a director, who need is Samuel T.K. Wilson, he's only earning $600. He has not been working at that ministry at that position for at least 2 to 3 years. And he was able to build this. He's been investigated. He's been accused. People believe that he has taken government money to build this property. And they are even saying, according to reports, he is building another one on the RIA highway, but there has not been independently verified. But it is verified that he is the owner of that 18-bedroom luxurious property in Dupont Road. And he's earning $600. So there is investigation going on. And also, the manager of the Port of Buchanan, Charles Gore, and his statistician, who is Amara Kamara, collectively colluded and were able to snatch 200,000 of the Liberian government money that they were able to dish to their various accounts, both across and in Liberia, and they have been suspended for this behavior. The MPA confirmed that, and there is an investigation. These guys are on a looting spree, my people. They are on a looting spree. We can't continue to have people who, fortunately, among all of us, are serving in government, getting paid decently, for some time practically doing nothing, and yet they are not certified. They are entitled to cars. They are entitled to per diems. They are entitled to their Liberian salary. Some of them have to travel. Liberian government has to pay, and they are not certified. But a teacher is relying on a single salary, and that teacher teaches well. That teacher goes to school. A nurse is relying on that man salary. She goes to the hospital. She's diligent at her work. She has no compensation. I mean, some people will come and tell me, what do they have for our teachers? What do they have for our nurses? And the guys who are getting more are the ones who demanding more, and the demanding are illegal, and they are taking it all by themselves. This is unacceptable. We must not stomach it. And I want Liberians to be able to stand up for this kind of thing. I'm a protest guy, and I don't hide my feeling talking about it, because we should be the one holding these people accountable. When these lawmakers took for themselves $30,000 that they call something for legislative engagements, and it went to their personal accounts, I want us to see Liberian at the Capitol, staying there until these people refund their money. Hey, my people are different kind of people. They will not stand up for themselves. But congratulations to the employees of the Liberia Electricity Corporation. When their salaries were delayed, when the government went ahead and cut 30%, they said, no, we're not going to take this. We see these guys walking away with several thousands of dollars. Our little salary they're giving to us, they cut it, and then they can't pay it. We will not allow it. They went there, they cut all the power. I support that, and I don't care how you think about it. They have family to feed, they have children to send to school, they have not been paid for some time, and their salary was being cut off. What do you expect them to do? How do you want them to survive? And because they took that bold action, today they have gotten their pay, and their 30% has been restored. We must be non-violent in our action, but we must hold this government accountable, and not only government, all officials of government, any government for that matter. We have to do it. We have to protect the democracy through civil action and through accountability by holding these public officials accountable, because they will not do it. Have you not high enough of them taking to court and nothing comes out of it? Have you not high enough? Anyway, the phone lines are open, and I want you to forever speak now or hold your peace. This is your time. I told 30 minutes to make a presentation and to tell you what we want you to talk about. Let me check to see if some of you have already placed in your call. No, there is not a single call yet. So let's do this. I'm going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. When we return from that break, you should be able to call. There are two ways to call. There is a WhatsApp number. If you look in the scrolling text below, there is a WhatsApp number. That WhatsApp number, please, those of you in the US, do not call that number. That number is designated for our friends who are outside of Liberia, so they can call. There is a teleconference number that is at the bottom of the screen in the scrolling text also, 605-313-6004. The code is 791403#. Call and participate. How do you feel about this behavior by these three junior officials of government? Are there three? Actually, four of them. Two at the port in Buchanan, one at Ministry of Lands, Mines, and Energy, and one at the Ministry of Presidential Affairs. They have been robbed, they have been caught. We saw their hand, or been reported their hands were caught into the cookies gap. What do you make of this behavior by this official? And do you trust that our government will do the right thing to investigate, to hold these guys accountable, and if they are found guilty of anything, that they will not only restitute this money, but they will be penalized and punished and be held accountable, face on jail time, and never be allowed to serve in our government anymore for this kind of act? Because report had it that one of these junior officials of government, I think the guy at the Ministry of Lands, Mines, and Energy, but at the Ministry of Presidential Affairs, was accused and went to court before for corruption act he exhibited sometime in the past. And he is doing it or being accused again. That tells me this thing is sweet. Apparently, he have gotten away with it the last time, so he think he can do it again. So, folks, I'm taking a short break. And the short break is meant for you to start calling in. Don't go anywhere. We have to talk about it. It is time for you to speak. And I have 20 minutes designated for you to speak or forever hold your peace. We have to fight for this country with civil action and by speaking out. Let the leaders know that we know what they are doing. We are watching them, and we will speak about those things that are happening in the government. And that's the only way out. I don't know. This is not the time of guns. This is time for advocacy. This is the time for speaking and pointing out the ills in the society so that these people can know our eyes are on them. We must do that. So we will take that break as we wait for your calls. It will be very short. So please stay tuned and start calling right now. And then we will take your calls.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
And I am Ansony Sieh, your host here at the Hour of Politics. I think we have some calls already. We're going to be taking the calls right now. Those of you who have not called, please look below. The teleconference number is there. If you are outside of the US, the WhatsApp number below is also for you. We will go to the call and we will take our first caller. And this caller with phone number ending in 6214, your name and where you are joining us from.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Bill Cole. I'm calling from Belgium. But it happened to be that I used my 804 number. I was once living in a state.
Okay.
I used to live in Virginia.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead to the issues.
Yeah, I was just going through my Facebook, and then I saw you were speaking to.
I was speaking to the corruption allegations against 4 officials of junior officials. I mean, against 4 officials of the government, right? It seems to be he might have fallen off. He's here. I don't know what happened. Can you hear me? All right, let him make some adjustment at his end. Let's see. We have Mr. Jerome Gilman. Mr. Gilman, I'm announcing your name because you are an affiliate here as Focus on Liberia. Welcome to the discussion. Your take, sir.
Thank you very much for an exciting show. I like the passion. I think you have been one of the few or many that have agreed to keep the fire burning on our administration, on this democracy, on this president, to make sure that we do what is right by the Liberian people. And I think the government is listening, and to the government's credit, we are seeing that its own officials, based on evidence, what I saw from Page Africa, what I'm hearing from you, what I've seen from you guys, that we do have evidence, concrete evidence on these perpetrators. And the government is doing the right thing by bringing them to book. And as we speak, they are innocent until proven guilty. And I want to make that clear. But from the evidence that I saw, I think the government has a very good case here to have these guys convicted. And they need to pay the Liberian people back the money that was stolen or taken away. And not only that, but it need to be prosecuted to a higher extent and need to go to jail. And this is what we are talking about. Our allegations have to be based on facts. And we do have the facts here. And I want to remind you that when we had the fact in the last administration, the president of the Liberian government, President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, came up and said, yes, my son may have absconded with $30 million. I take full responsibility. And there was nothing done. So I want to hail this president and this administration. We need to do more. But this is a great start. And I want to say thank you to everybody, the critics, the supporters of the government, that we have to collectively hold ourselves, our families, and this government feet to the fire so they do not fall into the complacency. So I agree with you. Liberian people need to stand up, and it's not only government. We need to stand up to our cousins, our brothers. When they bring the loot home, we shouldn't celebrate because he's bringing it to us.
Yeah.
We need to ask, where are you getting this kind of money from? So it is working. Whatever you are doing at our station, whatever they are doing at the other station, whatever the critics are saying, we don't care what happened in the past. We came here to bring change, and I like this movement. I think the president is on the right trajectory. He just warmed me up. I think he's going to do more, and we should continue the pressure so we can weed these people out of government and replace them with those who are actual patriots of the country.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work and continue to push him.
Thank you, Mr. Gilman. We appreciate your call. Let me go back to the gentleman who had called earlier. Hello there. Are you there? Are you okay now? All right. I don't think he's ready yet. I think something happened to his phone. We have Mr. Sieh Goya on the phone. Mr. Goya, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Quickly to the issue, sir.
I appreciate that. A few things I wanted to point out.
Go ahead.
That it will always be difficult under this regime to successfully prosecute any case of corruption or any case of alleged accumulation of wealth that is illegal. And the point I'm making is that as a mathematician, if you don't have a starting point, these people did not declare their assets. So this is one reason when people laugh at Dallas DeLong and say he has 3,050 cents in his account. I say, you got to be crazy, because if that man told you he has $3.50 in his account, that means going forward, everything he accumulates beyond $350, he's answerable to the public on where that money came from. And he said he had $350,000. It would be difficult for us to say, well, how did he bid out this shot? And so because people did not declare their assets, it would be very difficult to look at these junior ministers and say, well, you know, when you came into government, you own one Tiger generator. How come now you're owning 3 mansions based on your $600 salary? You see, once we can lay that out, it will be so easy for folks to know it's easy to trap you. But when the president declared his assets and tied that in legal maneuvering and said because he wants to protect his family. Meanwhile, he is a public official. When the president, deputy press secretary can say the 9th Street mansion was owned by his son, and his son has to come back and say, no, it was not owned by me, before the president could say, oh yeah, it's mine. When you have all of those things happening, it's really difficult for you to clearly and without bias go after people and really get government money back from them. And I'm making that point because if you talk about the case that now is the time that CDC youth wing is flexing its muscle. Mm-hmm. They're going after junior ministers instead of going after the people who are having the elephant head, so to speak. And that is the problem. Therein lies the problem. You see, for me, I want to give them credit. I want to give CDC credit, the youth wing at least. Mm-hmm. At least they came out, albeit very late, but at least they've come up. They've seen that the party is not always supreme, that Liberia is supreme. And that if there are people, look, and I'm about to say this and I'll let you go.
Okay.
Because I talked about this situation with some friends of mine who were citizens. And the first thing one of my friends told me was, my man, the last time I checked, you bought cars for your welfare, nobody hear you, nobody was crying in your name. So I said, wow.
Wow.
I am a private person. I work and I earn what I live by. And so to buy my wife a vehicle and you're trying to equate it. First thing is, even if this junior minister got this money fairly and squarely, the optics are wrong.
Certainly.
The optics are just wrong. You cannot have in the midst of a pandemic where people are dying from hunger. I don't care if that champagne was £1. I would have still been mad at him. I would have still been mad at him for the optics. The optics is just wrong. Right? And so my point I'm making here is that Liberians will finally have to get some spine and stop saying it didn't happen in the last administration. The last administration did this. Well, you came to us and you told us we are hoping for change. And so we are hoping that you will change. Not hoping that you'll do the exact same thing. And so, Mr. Sieh, I want to say this is a great topic. Mm-hmm. We are hoping, we are praying, we are waiting and see that the government will take some stance and try to make sure that we are setting our people to lock down in place and go home early and bear with you that you're not able to pay them their monthly salary, mm-hmm. that they will not see on Facebook your ministers, your directors living opulently. We have to end this ecosystem of opulence and corruption. Somehow, some way, the Liberian host, has to reject the parasite, which is corruption in our ecosystem. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, Mr. Sieh Goya, there making his point. So, folks, there you have it. Let's bring in some of you who have been commenting. We want to do justice to you or here. Some people prefer to write and they take their time to do so, so we have to read their comments. Let's hear from Anthony Nimler. How is this anti-propo? Are there rules and regulations barring any members of CDC from buying gifts for their family members? He's asking a question. Let's hear from Buchanan Saleh. Good evening, Mr. Sieh. I'm watching you from Ukraine, Kiev. This government and its officials are always shooting themselves in the foot. Let's hear from Marian Roberts. Anthony Nimler, you need Jesus Christ in your life to go to church this weekend. Oh, she's fighting here. So I will leave that. Let's hear from the man, Tobasa. CPP should put forward the most popular candidate as standard bearer. With that, a split might not hurt much. An attempt to skim through the process a candidate that is not so popular will have devastating consequences. Tobasa have a tendency of going off topic anytime he comes here. But we appreciate your comment, though. Let's hear from Manti Wiaman Brown. The junior minister in the government, or the junior ministers in the government, are following the examples of the hierarchy of CDC. These guys are witnessing how the president and his ministers are accumulating wealth here and there at the expense of the country. You know, let me speak to that. Something I just remember because of Mr. Brown's comment here. There is a minister, deputy minister in the government at the Ministry of Finance. What is his name? Samara Wolokoli. Yeka Koloba went on record one other time saying that Samara Wolokoli said he would buy his property. I mean, he would build his property and no one's going to stop him because people like Samuel Twe and Mange are doing the same. The president is doing the same and nobody going to stop him. He told, according to Yaka, he told him, you think I'm going to sit here while the president, Mange and Twe and others are accumulating wealth for me to sit here and not do anything for myself? I will do the same thing. That is the point that Mr. Brown is speaking to, and Sieh Goya also spoke to that. What are the examples the leaders have set? They have set by examples. So the junior officials, they are following suit. And this is not right. This is not right. And that is why accountability is at the lowest in the government. So let's continue. Let's hear from who is here. This time we try to screenline the comment. Not that we don't want to read your comment, but we want people who are on point on the topic. Let's hear from Matthew Joyce here. A lot of focus on Liberia. Their programming is based on facts and accountabilities, not like other platforms in the diaspora that are fanatic of the we-are-led government. Well, that's his take. You'll be the judge. It's not me to blow our horn, but that's his statement. Let's hear from Wisin Kama. Another thing is, why did the executive, I think, choose to give the legislature the second part of the 30K? The citizens are crying as the executive makes the people to believe that there is no money to fight the virus, and yet still give another 15K, when on many occasions the executive has said there was no money and the legislature did not go to court. For example, Mr. Dillon didn't get his salary for 3 months in the name of no money. Dillon didn't go out blaming the government. All right. So this is the thing. Let's read some comments. Yes, still. Yeah, from this TYG. Getting rid of corruption in Liberia is a process that realistically will not happen overnight. The media and citizens will continue to hold government accountable. You are on point. That is what we are doing, because we want a country. We don't want a banana republic. But yet, Some people think we have an agenda. Whatever the agenda is to get a better Liberia, and not the one many are thinking about. Let's hear from Frances Wilson here. Can we get a CDC definition of proper? They don't seem to understand their own agenda. This person is wandering, like somebody in Wonderland, and I can relate to that. Let us also hear from Hamilton Taylor. Stealing and billing in Liberia is wrong, but better than stealing and taking it in abroad. I don't know what this person is saying there. Let's hear from Blaise Sampon Watu. I hope I got it right. Really, wow. How can you think like that? So stealing and billing in Liberia makes it good? Hey, that person is responding to somebody who might have said, well, since the billing in Liberia is better. How can you say that? This person is baffled by that statement. All right, folks, we still have some comments here. Let me see. This one that here from Prince Cephas Deba. Very much disappointed when we heard about stealing our money when we, the young people, just suffering. Yeah, it's a young man speaking there and say, they are just disappointed. People stealing their money and they are suffering. Let's hear from Bernardine Eastman. I hope I got it right. The gangsters are on the loose, thugs and thieves. Wild West. Scarecrow, Liberian citizen, WTF. I think that thing was, I don't know what WTF is. Somebody can help me there. Yeah, from James Tano, a religious follower here, focused on Liberia. James writes, Liberia makes global finance ranking list for the time history. Tops, France, safest place to do business. I didn't understand that, but I'll move on. Let's hear from Emmanuel Jackson. Tell you, bro, Ansony Sieh, me, I will tell it on social media. Last week, had to help a university for food and single mother and daughter for food, just 25 each. It is sad that happens to our people under this government. That person is not happy that these things are happening here. Let's hear from Martin here. See, Charles de Gaulle is following the example of Betwewe. See, what is the example of Betwewe? Share it with me. Lay it on me so I can periscope Mr. Twewe. He's not setting good example. Is he in this business of corruption too? Is that why you're implying, Mr. Yaman Blanc? Let us know, brother. So, folks, that will be the comments. So let me conclude. Again, we brought you reports coming from Monrovia about wide-scale corruption in the government. The first one that we reported here was carried on allegedly by J. Emmanuel Porter, an assistant minister at the Ministry of Presidential Affairs and he responsible for logistics. He bought a car for his sweetheart, which happened to be a birthday gift. He bought expensive champagne and he popped it on it. And some people believe that is insensitive. The CDC youth came out and said, hey, this brother could not afford $250,000 car yesterday. How could he now afford an Audi Q7, which is an expensive car, and pouring champagne over it when our people are suffering, when people are hungry, when there are no gloves in the hospital, when people are not taking pay? Even if this is his own money, he has to buy champagne and put it on this car. They say it's anti-proper because he wasted champagne on a car when some people are barely looking for food. Even some of his own parents can't even get transportation to go hustle. And he, as a representative of the government, an image of the face of the government, is pouring champagne on a vehicle. Couldn't he have just taken that money and blessed it with another partisan who might be hungry and does not have a job? There are many citizens who don't have job. They are hungry. Hunger is punishing them every day. But they are still hoping that one day their God will smile at them and they will get in their government. And while they wait in anger and while they wait with hunger in their belly day after day, one of their own is pouring expensive champagne on a vehicle that he got for his wife. What a waste. They say that is anti-proper. Another one. Another minister, assistant minister at the Ministry of Lands, Mines, and Energy, we understand you having to be a director for one of the services there. He built for himself a luxurious 18-bedroom guest house in the Dupont Road area, but he is making $600. He's been accused of stealing money to build that property. That has been verified that the property, which is that 18-bedroom luxurious property, belongs to him. And not only that, he been also accused of having another property under construction at the Rabat Airport Highway, Rabat International Airport Highway, RIA Highway, along that line, that he has another property that is under construction, but that one has not been independently verified. We understand he is under investigation by the Ministry of Justice. Last but not least, 2 officials of government working for the Liberian government at the port of Buchanan, the port manager, Charles Gore, and also the statistician at that particular port, whose name is Amara Kamara. They both, 2 of them put together, and they've been accused of taking nearly 200,000 United States dollars and sending it to their various accounts. Some of the accounts in Liberia and some outside of Liberia in the United States. These individuals have been suspended, and according to the National Port Authority, they are undergoing investigation for taking this money, and this money came from Achelot Mintar. You know, there is exportation going on at the Buchanan airport. Iron ore coming from Guinea and other places being exported at that port in Buchanan. That money was intended for government. And these guys took their money for themselves, reportedly and allegedly, and they are serving suspension right now. These are the stories of corruption that we have in our government. We believe this is unfair. These people must be held accountable. If they are investigated and found guilty, they should serve a jail term or their jail terms, and they should never be allowed to work in this government anymore. And like I said earlier, the guy at Ministry of Presidential Affairs, it was reported that he was being accused of corruption before, and that case went to court, and that he was actually guilty. And that, in fact, the reason he has not been able to serve a jail term because the Supreme Court has ruled that the case has to be retried. It is not that he was not guilty, but this guy, despite this record, this government found him worthy of another appointment or another job in this government, and they did. And what happened? He showed his true color. So, folks, this is the story of our country, Liberia, and this story makes me sick. This story makes me sick, folks. This story makes me sick. It makes me sick. So we will very soon come to the end of the broadcast. I'm Ansony Sieh. I brought you another edition of the Hour of Politics. This is how we come to the end of this broadcast. But we always close our broadcast with this song, this nationalistic song that says, "We are all Liberians," and I beg you, please listen to this song one moment. It will give you strength to believe in Liberia and fight for Liberia. When you believe in your child, you protect that child. You advocate. You do everything for this child to be protected and for them to get what they deserve as a child. Let's do that for our country, because that is the only country we do have, and let us protect it jealously. On that note, folks, that song, "We Are All Liberians," is taking us home. Enjoy that song. Bye-bye.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home.